Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. It's going to be a busy week for me. Probably not as many videos as I've done over the last couple of weeks, and I've really churned out quite a few, some of them by complete surprise. For those who don't know, I'm going to be attending TwitchCon in Las Vegas this coming week. I'll be flying out Thursday and coming back Monday. I would like to say I'll have the weekly Q&A available next Monday. I'll try to record in the hotel room because I'm already planning on bringing stuff. Ivy, chill. I'm trying to do my intro. Already planning on bringing a setup so I can co-stream FanFest, which is going to be taking place Saturday morning at like 2 a.m. or something like that. So that's what the plan is. That being said, I'm going to try to have a couple videos ready for this week. It's definitely going to be more sparse than it has been. Granted, the good news is we've got a bunch of other stuff coming over the next few weeks, and after I'm back from FanFest, I might finally execute that whole Happy Souls-like channel, because I'm going to have a lot of downtime where there's no way I'm going to have an idea for absolutely everything and a plan for absolutely everything. So they're probably going to be just a few more sporadic videos all throughout. I'm trying to think of ideas at the moment for things I could do weekly or semi-weekly. Obviously, Duty Finder Disaster is still a thing that people do quite enjoy, so I'd like to make sure I have those kind of coming out bi-weekly or monthly over the course of the wait for Dawn Trail in between news. I'm also considering a couple of other things. I'm looking for ideas of things that I can throw onto the channel that are either Final Fantasy related or Final Fantasy 14 related. Obviously, all 7 and 7 Rebirth news stuff as that comes out, I'll probably be doing coverage for as long as I think it's worth making a video for. There are some small details I can't bring myself to make videos for. I'm just like, I can't make a whole video on this. Like, I could, and I'm sure people would click on it, but like, I don't feel like it's worth a video. I'll see videos of said thing because, you know, you should really be making videos of everything when you're trying to cover something. It really helps the algorithm, gets more people to notice it. But sometimes I'm just like, I might also have a few more shorts coming, even just of things that have already happened or things that I've never actually captured in short form. It's actually a short I uploaded, I don't know, like 2 months ago. I never made it public. It was a Final Fantasy X one. I think I uploaded it to TikTok, but I never made it public on YouTube. So I'm thinking about doing some more of that as well to filter in the time. I'm not a super big fan of shorts, but, you know, if it's something to occupy the channel, if it's something people enjoy, all my shorts actually have pretty good viewership on YouTube, too. It's actually pretty nice. My TikTok ones, not at all. TikTok ones and my shorts are like the same thing. It's just the ones that are on TikTok just don't do as well. I just don't have as much traction over there. Also, the type of videos I make for TikTok, they really are better suited for YouTube as a whole. But anyway, that's it for my intro. I need to get to this Q&A because I think I want to stream again tonight. I think I want to finish Lords of the Fallen and then do 14 the rest of the week so I can just chill before TwitchCon kicks up. So yeah, thanks to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. Nobody has to support. You can choose to with Patreon or the super chats or whatever they're called on YouTube. So thank you to everyone who contributes via those methods. And thank you to SteelSeries for sponsoring. Speaking of which, SteelSeries has a new mic that's like this one. I don't have it yet, but hopefully when I do, I'll have something to say about it. I'm just waiting for SteelSeries to get back to me so I can get an alias, which is the name of the new mic, sent to me. And, you know, I actually should make more SteelSeries related stuff because I'm sponsored by them, and actually y'all support them a lot. Trust me, I've seen the numbers. I know how much people buy SteelSeries through my links, whether it be from Twitch or YouTube. It's like, it's a lot, and I'm grateful, but I should do more things for it because I want to, because they've treated me really well over the years. Anyway, with that, let's get on to the Q&A. I actually had to scroll down. There's a few questions that are actually answered by a recent video that I made, my new job hints video. So I've already seen like 2 or 3 comments on that one. This one in front of us isn't, but I decided, you know, if there's a certain event that you're wondering about with job hints, I did make a video about it, so be sure to go check that one out. Anyway, our first actual question, hashtag Muscular Mondays with Haps. Hello, Haps. Hope your arm's feeling better. Dude, my back is shot. So I'm doing PBs this week at the gym. So I did one, you know, barbell bench press rep. I did one max weight deadlift, and I have squats tomorrow, or I guess when you're seeing this today. And those are like my benchmarks that I'm setting. My bench press was 230, so that's 2 plates, the bar being 45 itself, and then two little 2.5s on the end. I didn't want to put 5s on the end because I hadn't even done 225 at that point. I just decided, you know what? I think I can do a little more than 225. And I actually almost got a second rep, so I probably could do 235 in reality. 230, and then I could have done 235, yeah. And then for deadlift, I did 335 for 1 rep. That was a struggle. My back hates me for it right now. Wasn't the only thing I did that day, but yeah, it was, what a time. This is a non-14 related question. Working out my upper arms in cardio on certain days. Want to know if it's normal to feel your right arm hurting or sore or swollen at the rotator cuff area. Do push-ups and sit-ups and notice that sometimes I have pains by the end of the week. Usually I work through the pain come Monday. Do I just need to give myself more days to rest? That sounds more like something that you should go get physically examined. So I'm going to give you something. One of the things that made me stop doing fitness about 10 years ago was a left shoulder injury. And what had happened was similar to you. Essentially around the rotator cuff, every time I worked out, it would be in pain and it would be swollen. So, anytime I did this or even just bench press or anything that engaged my rotator cuff caused that. And that happened to me, not even from working out. I know exactly what caused it. I was reaching for something that was in a narrow passageway. And I was like, come on, I think I can reach it. And somehow I just pulled it to the point where I damaged something in this rotator cuff. So on top of, starting content creation, I injured myself just not even working out, just living day-to-day life, which was awful. But that was what had happened, is I had basically torn something or damaged. I never knew because I never actually went to get a physical to get it checked out. If I had, and I had found out it was just going to be a little bit of rest, I probably wouldn't have taken so much time away from the gym. But I became afraid of going back to the gym because I did not want a permanent injury, and I couldn't afford to go get it checked out. At that point, my job had let 2/3 of the company go. Content creation was only just beginning, so it wasn't really paying bills yet. So I would say, don't do what I did. You should actually go get that physically examined. What you could do if you don't want to do that right away, take a few days rest, take a week off. Just take a full week off where you don't engage the rotator cuff at all, and then go back. If it still hurts, then get it physically examined. So that's the answer is definitely not to ask me on the internet, because I can't diagnose an injury. And if you ever have pain or injury, then you should seek out rest, and then if not, some sort of assessment. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Story lore question with a 6.5 spoiler. With how they kept the camera from showing the original Golbez's face and giving them a voice throughout the echo cutscenes of them, it's been assumed they were a warrior of light shard. Yeah, just an assumption. There's no hard evidence of that. It's just what we're assuming at this point. But I think it's fair given what Golbez was doing on the 13th. So here's my question. Can the same be said of Durante as a shard of Xenos? I think there's less context for that. Blonde hair, blue eyes, notable swordsman, even has a similar pose as a boss. I guess. I never really checked to see because I always see that as Fatebreaker more than anything else, as E11. But yeah, that might be the same skeleton. Fatebreaker might have the same skeleton as Xenos, actually. I never even considered that. But I don't think so. I think we would have seen more similarities in the actual attacks used if they were trying to even remotely allude to that. I think I think both of these things are probably coincidence. I don't think Golbez is probably the shard of the Warrior of Light. But I wouldn't subscribe to this theory more so than the other one. Hashtag MHM. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope you had a nice weekend. It's been great. Like I said, it's a good fitness weekend for me. Do you think 14 will release an in-game grid for other stuff like haircuts, emotes, and glamour so you can see which one you've collected? That'd be nice. I mean, there's a lot of UI elements that really do need updating. The friends list as a whole needs to be gutted and redone. And I think the way that the emote menu and stuff is done is very rudimentary. You could very easily put them into like a grid style system, almost something that looks like the Blue Mage log, for example, and then have them there and make it easier to search and display. But will they? Good question. Glamours, I don't think so at all. I think the way it is now is as far as it's going to go. I hate to say. But the other ones, yeah, I mean, I don't see a reason why they couldn't. But when I say I don't see a reason, it doesn't mean there isn't one, technically speaking. I wouldn't bank on this, but there's definitely things they could do to improve along these lines, and they should always be looking to do that. Hashtag Mr. Madge Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. Was wondering if you think there would ever be a level squish. Oh, yeah. I expect a level squish 100%. Honestly, they didn't stat squish us enough going into 6.0 at all. They should have stat squished us way, way more. It's square to make Dawn Trail another expansion new starting point. Might make the new player experience, what would they be, older content, feel more fun by just generally having more buttons, considering they would condense 100. Well, they wouldn't condense 100 levels into one level. You know, they'd condense them probably into 50 or 60 levels. They've said they haven't decided if they're doing a level squish or if they're just going to keep going. They've essentially said they're having discussions about what the proper course is, because they think that new players might be slightly intimidated by the number of levels you need to obtain. But they've also said that, you know, it's still a logical progression point. You know, you just keep gaining levels, and that's not really confusing. It just goes up to a high number. And then they've also said they've had discussions about creating a after max level progression system, which I don't want anyone to get excited about that. The reality is it would still function as if you were gaining 10 levels throughout the course of finishing MSQ. It just might have a fancy other name or like a UI element or something. It functionally would still be exactly the same as the game is now. So no matter what, the general way of things going will stay the same. The question is, as you've posed here, is which of those things are they going to land on? And there's no way to know because they've openly said they haven't decided yet. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're having a great day. It's going good so far. Can't complain. Easy question. I'll be the judge of that. How'd you feel about a one with nature druid like magic D? Oh, okay. So a druid magic D. So I don't think you can do druid like WoW. I think so. So I know Green Mage is a big guest, can't help but want a druid. Perfectly reasonable. You know, job fantasy is a big thing for people, so wanting a druid is an absolutely normal thing. This won't happen, but the 14 teams take on a D&D wild-shaped druid would be super interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's that bad. I've said if they ever did like an actual, you know, shape-shifting druid in 14, it would very likely be similar to Bard songs, where every X number of seconds you do a transformation and have a different moveset. And then you have to rotate through them, you know, and then one of them is the burst window one of them is kind of like the chill maintenance one, and one of them is the preparation for burst window one. So that wouldn't surprise me. I think that general kind of rotation is a little too strict, and we've seen that with Bard this expansion, but that's how I envision it, is 3 different modes, all of them still focused on DPS, but all of them focused on and in a slightly different way. They could even make it so you transform for a short time and then do magic for a little bit and then transform for a short time again, then do magic. That's a lot more like Summoner in sort of a way, but like with a little bit more downtime between each of them. So that way, I think that would give it a better, it would reduce the rigidity of it versus what Bard has. Like imagine if Bard songs were only 20 to 25 seconds a piece, but they were made stronger and had the same sort of cooldown. That gives you a lot more flexibility in the range in which you use them, because it gives you this 20-second window where it's acceptable to activate them a little bit later than you normally would. It also allows for a little bit more, you know, ideal optimization. I think that would actually be a decent route for keeping Bard similar to the way it is now, but giving it some sort of function that reduces its rigidity. I think they also should consider some way of kind of just blanket resetting all of your song cooldowns occasionally, just as a personal cooldown to fix mistakes, to fix deaths, something to get you back on track. But I think this is another way, and Druid could work that way as well. But like you said, I don't think they'll do that. And so I also love Druid. Druid was the first class I leveled to max level in Burning Crusade in World of Warcraft. It was Warlock after that, then Rogue after that, and then I don't even remember. Like I think then Wrath was out. I think it was Death Knight. But yeah, who knows? They can do whatever they want. I just don't think they will. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hopefully you have a great day and your workouts are going good. Yeah. On a gym journey yourself. Nice. Glad to hear it and wishing you the best of luck. I was wondering after seeing a video from Cole Evix about how apparently Green Mage will be the... Oh, okay, so there's another... Okay, yeah, like I said, there's a few of these in here. What you might think of the case. Yeah, I have a video out about that. So everything that I could say about it is in that video, and more than I would say here. So if that would sate your curiosity, I'd go check that out. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope your arms end up doing better by the time you get to this comment. Going through some leg and arm difficulties. Oh, yeah. I gave it a couple days, and it was perfectly fine. I haven't had any sort of issues. It just must have slept on it weird. That just happens sometimes. You know, you wake up and something's in pain, and you don't know why, and that's when you realize you're old. Do you think devs would consider further revision on past relics? No, not really. I was talking about this with my FC friends earlier, and we're talking about how past relic weapons have significant walls to progression in the modern iteration still. Time-worn art. So here's the thing. If there's any to change, there's only two things I think they should actively look at adjusting for past relics. That is the Hidato step for Eureka, which is kind of just awkwardly difficult. It's not even difficult. It's just like the rate of progression is much slower than it feels like it should be. And the time-worn artifacts, specifically because Delubrum Regine is not very popular. And then the other option is Deep Dungeon. So those are the only two things. I thought you were going to talk about like Zetas and anima weapons and stuff. But I do agree. These steps could still use some revisions. And I think while some people may see that as wasting resources on old content, people are going to learn, especially in the Wait for Dawn Trail. Old content, if you haven't done it, is new content. So making sure that that experience is still consistent and achievable and feels good to do is something that gives longevity to a content that has passed that is valuable, because it keeps people subscribed because they're just doing things that are goal-oriented, which I understand because I'm very goal-oriented. So I think they should, but I don't think they will. I think their prerogative is not there. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Good afternoon, Mr. Happy. Hi. I hope all is well with you. Doing good. Night Hockey here. Welcome. As always, thank you for your content. Been following you since A Realm Reborn, which was my first introduction to MMOs. Want to thank you for the inspiration to get back in shape and take better care of yourself. Yeah, I'm doing my best. Like I said, those gains. Got to get them gains. It's been a while since I asked you a question, so here are three. I haven't asked you one, so here's three that. No, that's fine. One, when it comes to the 8-man normal trial, why does Square Enix seem to put all the rewards in extreme trials? It's a Realm of Run. I've always wondered this. They don't want people looking for MSQ completion to get mixed with people who are looking for rewards. Now, obviously, that's kind of, I don't want to say hypocritical, but dungeons, obviously, that's a bit of a not overlap, but it's because dungeons actually fulfill a second purpose in that of being a consistent leveling method. And I know there's trial roulette, but it's not quite the same. So I think that's a big part of it. They don't want people who are doing the MSQ for the first time to get mixed up with people who are just there to farm some form of loot. They also are kind of difficult to balance a reward for. Like a minion was really the only thing they would deem that worthy, because these normal mode trials are really easy. So they don't really know what to do with it. So so to make resources for it doesn't really make any sense either. To EU FanFest coming October 21st, what can we expect news-wise? Made a video about that. Although I did get a couple things wrong, because I forgot that EU FanFest actually happened last for Stormblood, I think it was. So there's a few things referenced in there that probably won't happen, but there's a lot on the line, but there's definitely some stuff they're going to save for Japan. Don't forget that. What are some quality of life changes you would like to see in Dawn Trail? Fix the damn friends list! And the adventuring plates. Just make it so my adventure plate, I'm sorry, not the plate itself, the portrait when I go into a dungeon, if I don't have anything set, allow me, or just have it default to whatever my adventure plate is. I don't care if it's the wrong class or the wrong job. I just want to use that regardless of the job I'm on. That's why I made it in the first place. I don't want to make one for every different job. I don't care. Just give me a basic option because I'm a basic bitch, okay? Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. So what actually is the best way to be using Limit Break in Dungeon, especially as a caster range? Should I just be LB1ing at the beginning of a pull every time I get it? Should I always be pulling the boss with it in alliance raids when it's there? So the second thing, yeah, if you have an LB and you can try to pull an alliance boss with it before time it with the tank, that is the best way to do it in alliance raids. For dungeons, it's not really LB1ing in like as soon as you get it. on trash, but the caster or range should be L being trash more than you should be saving it for the boss. The trash is just way more potency effective, like massively more effective in terms of the overall dungeon speed than saving it for a boss. So generally what people do is in one of the final trash pulls in a dungeon, so somewhere between the second and third boss, they'll be there. And then that comes down to knowing which pull has the most mobs in each dungeon, or if there's an equal amount that you could do it whenever. So yeah, but those are the best ways. I hate it when people get mad when a caster LBs in a dungeon. Those people are wrong. And if you do get mad at the caster for LBing the trash in your dungeon, you're wrong. And they're smart, so listen to them. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello. Hope you're doing well and feeling great. I'm doing all right. You talked about being colorblind fairly often, how you sometimes need to have different ways of interpreting mechanics. Feel free to not answer if you're not comfortable. I was curious, what colors can you see? So the problem is I don't know what colors I can see because I can only identify colors via association. So I know a stop sign in America is red. Big old sign, big old red. If something's the same color as that sign, I know it's red. But if I have no idea what color something I'm looking at is supposed to be, then I'm just guessing. Like I've had dark purples look blacks, I've had blues look purple, I've had greens look like yellows, yellows look like greens, yellows not show up on white paper. Reds look like browns, reds look like oranges, reds look like greens, which is an actual thing. It's just, I need to be able to make an educated guess. So I can see all the colors, but I cannot identify them without some sort of reference point. As for colorblind glasses, they absolutely work because I looked at what I thought was a green fence, I put them on, and it was clear as day that it was red. I didn't need any help, any color association. They absolutely work. So that was a really cool thing. What's the hardest mechanic you've done from the perspective being colorblind? Honestly, Shiva circles. Shiva, like hard mode and extreme, way back in A Realm Reborn, the circles, those are terrible. I mean, I think binding coil with the orange AoEs when we had different colored AoEs than the ones we have now might have been the absolute worst, but Shiva's just resonates in my mind. And in more recent content, Thornton, Unreal, during the 4th set of Knights of the Round, I think he does a wind conal, and that thing is nigh invisible to me as well. So I always have to dodge very close to the boss, or I just can't do it. It just disappears in the arena. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Howdy, Haps. Long-time viewer, first-time asker. Welcome and hello. First, I want to say thanks for the Zero Miss guide. Managed to bang it out and get a weapon in week 1. Nice. Secondly, I'd like to ask how you feel about the state of Red Mage. I do not play Red Mage. I do not like Red Mage. I feel as if my opinion on Red Mage shouldn't matter because I'm only going to say what every other Red Mage is saying because I have no experience. So I'd be lying to you if I gave you an answer because I want to be clear. I don't want them to make me like Red Mage. That's the big thing. That's why me saying what's wrong with it is literally just me regurgitating community consensus, which is probably what you're about to talk about here. Because I do not believe that Square should make me like every job. Square might think that way. It's very likely they think that everyone should maybe at least feel okay with every job. I don't want you to make Red Mage work for me. If I didn't like it before, you don't have to make me like it now. I don't want that transformation. So that's where I'm going to leave the answer because I'm just going to say all the things that you're saying most likely. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Howdy, Haps. Hi. Hope you had a good weekend. Solid. Got a couple questions for you. Cool. One, you've said multiple times you don't really care much what they do in 7.0 in terms of endgame raids, as long as it's fun. Instead, what are some things you're hoping they don't do? No more door bosses. I don't mind door bosses. They just need to do them better. I'm tired of 8-minute door bosses and 8-minute phase 2 bosses. It's not even a door anymore. It's just phase 1 and phase 2 being split by a checkpoint. Just give me a 4 to 4.5 minute door boss and a like 10 to 12 minute second phase. And that's way better. I'd rather have that. So it just doesn't feel as agonizing to go through every single week and every single lock-on, blah, 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 blah. So I don't really, though, still, even then, I still judge every boss individually so that my answer doesn't really change. As long as it's fun, if I enjoy the 8-minute first phase like I do with P12, then I'll just judge phase 1 and phase 2 separately while acknowledging there's what I think are faults to that design philosophy. So yeah, I still don't have an answer that's any different, unfortunately. Two, I love your Duty Finder disaster videos. While you said you didn't want to overuse the idea, I was wondering if you thought about doing Party Finder disasters. The clip of you being told your own strat. Yeah, so I have considered Party Finder disasters before. The big thing with Party Finder disasters is, though, so in Duty Finder disasters, it's kind of just like almost expected, in a sense, that Duty Finder is like, you're going in, you're just trying to get something done real quick. There's really no expectation. So if something funny happens, it's kind of just funny. In Party Finder, a lot of the times people go in with a very set objective, and when things start going wrong, it's less haha funny and more dude WTF. I don't know that I want people who are frequenting in the Party Finder to be put on blast nearly as much as people just running their like daily trial roulette or raid roulette or alliance roulette or whatever, you know. There's a whole different vibe about it. So if I ever do something that's equivalent to a Party Finder disaster, it would likely be I did Party Finder on stream and posted a clip similar to what you're referring to in that clip, because I think that's in a healthier spirit than it is to go into the Party Finder and hope things bad happen that are funny. I don't want that. I want the group to be successful at the thing that they're doing. So trying to get content out of it is far more strenuous, because then what if the group is great? I have to leave because it's not good for the video. You know what I mean? So it's a much different space to try to fulfill that idea in. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. In the final 6.5 cutscene, Kral mentioned how helpful having a mammoth would be. Oh my god. I think if you watch my MSQ playthrough for 6.5, I think I say that. I think I say this. Do you think it's a random line, or do you think it's Puppet Master? No, it's a random line. Because they have mammoths, like, what's it called? Matoya has the brooms, and then there's mammoths. Like, they've been used for that before. So it's more of a recognition of that. But no, I did say the same thing, I think, during my MSQ playthrough. Like, Puppet Master? Smile? No, the hope's gone. Give up. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Happy Monday. That's my name, and that's what day it is. Hello. Hi. First time question here. Welcome. The melee job, we assume it'll be a job that uses scouting gear. Do you think they'll have a magic physical split style damage attack like Ninja has? Thematically, I think it makes sense to have scouting have dual damage types, potentially have similar split. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of part of my prediction, is that they will have some sort of damage split. Do I think it's important to the scouting identity? No. What I do think is more important to the scouting identity is to have a much more mixed style type. So Ninja, literally during their biggest burst, slings ninjutsu. Ninjutsu are ranged, so they technically can play from range and optimize around range during these certain times, and it's not forced. You know, it's just you have to be cognizant of the timing with the fight. I think that encapsulates scouting. Scouting should be able to kind of stay back and take care of things from a distance, but also handle themselves up close. That's my ideal thing. I think, should it be something like Corsair or whatever scouting job it is, that sticking to that similar idea is fine, but that they need to do it in a way that feels unique to that particular job. So it doesn't necessarily have to be dual damage types, but dual damage distances, having a variety, having a range of distances that they are effective from during set periods of time is more important to me. Something that's aside, my only hope for a raid series, given the 10 references, is that of Sin. You mean Bismarck? Every time I say it, it's like, yeah, we have Bismarck, so I sincerely doubt you'll ever see anything Sin related. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope you and your cats are doing fantastic. Thanks. You too. And your cats that you may or may not have. I don't consider myself a casual player. I also don't consider myself a hardcore player. My question and reasoning may not align with someone such as yourself who tackles the current harder content as frequently as you do. How can there be a happy median regarding the alliance raids? Do you think adding a hard mode for alliance raids would work? Would it work? In the short term, yes. It cannot be more difficult than Baldessian Arsenal or Delibram Regine Savage, which is an interesting thing, because if they did a hard mode of alliance raids and it doesn't use like extra actions like those locations, then realistically the bosses need to be harder to circumvent that. Whereas with Delibram and BA, they're much more like solving puzzles with the skills that you're bringing along, plus some executional base that you might be used to in 14 itself. So if they ever did do that, I think it would be a very weird space to fill, because if it's too hard, you're not going to have groups doing them like the BA and DRS groups. And those are the types of groups you need to be tackling. You need to make sure that can be organized for this style of content. And fortunately, there's tons of people who like to organize that kind of stuff. The other question is the reward structure. because that in itself could cause it to be a little more heated. Whereas with, like, I feel like you'd have to do personal loot like they do with BA and DRS. It's the only way to avoid some sort of issue. And then what do you make the reward? So there's all sorts of problems that come with that. But it's, yeah, it's just a matter of actually making it so people desire to do it past maybe the first time. Even if it's just people leading groups in Discords to try and get other people clear. There needs to be something, and I have a hard time envisioning that within 14's ecosystems and structures. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Mister. No, I'm Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. See, you got it right the second time. What the heck? Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. You should totally do what Yoshi V's doing with 14 and 16 and refer to the Mr. Happy from the Souls channel like he's a different person. That's smart. You're smart. With 6.5 dropping, my homeworld Excalibur got decongested, so I decided to make an alt to re-experience the story, side quest and all. Last week I finished A Realm Reborn. It got me curious. Are you in the Meteor Survivors part of the credits since you played 1.0? I sure am, with my real name, not with Mr. Happy, though. So yeah, I used my real name instead of Mr. Happy, M-I-S-T-E-R Happy. Really well versed on previous titles. What classic FF summons primals have we still not fought? There's a lot. I mean, Valagarmanda, who's also known as Tritalk, is coming up, but there's no, I mean, Valfer, to go with the 10 theme. We fought a thing called a Valifer, and there are some things that kind of look like them, but we haven't actually fought like an icon primal god entity that's a Valifer. So yeah, there's a few. There's far fewer than there used to be, but I'm sure if I went through a list, Pandemonium as the Final Fantasy VIII summon. We fought Ark, so I can't say that. The Knights of the Round, we fought Hades. We fought all the different Bahamut's. At this point, we might as well have fought all the Bahamut's from 7, even if they're not named the same thing. I'm sure there are more, but I'd have to stop and think about it a little bit more. Hashtag Happy Monday with Mr. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you and the cats are getting enough sleep. Sleep's good. Sleep's good. So I've heard talk about getting dungeon gear to run old content like Ultimates. Is there something special about the scaling of the dungeon gear for old contents, or old contents, or would any gear with good stats scale the same? So the reason why we're having that discussion is because dungeon gear is the only left side, and in some cases right side gear that actually matches the item level of the ultimate. So generally, like when an ultimate comes out, its item level synced to, for Omega, for example, 635. Now, when Omega came out, there's all 630, armor and accessories, and a 635 weapon. When the dungeon comes out 2 patches later, all of the armor is 635. It's 5 item levels over what was Savage gear from a few patches ago. So it lets you have the extra strength, have the extra vitality, or the extra main stat, I should say, the extra vitality, and allows you to actually use materia slots. Now, that's useful during an expansion. When a new expansion comes out, level cap goes up, item level and stuff goes up. Then it just becomes a matter of time until just having gear that's a higher item level will outscale whatever you could have wore at the earlier item levels. So for top and DSR, you generally are looking for gear that's on expansion, a mix of dungeon and savage gear depending on the substats that each has. You're also looking at the relic weapon, which doesn't have materia slots and instead allows you to have the triple slotted stats, which scales very well when it's synced down. If you're a tank or a healer, you usually want older gear so you can meld direct hit onto it. Although I will say, outside of DSR and top, we're so overscaled for the other 3 ultimates that honestly, even DSR, I would say it's largely irrelevant. It's mostly for top, where you want to make sure you have every advantage you could possibly get. So they sometimes look at old gear sets to make sure they can actually have like melds that are active for stuff like direct hit. Hashtag Mondays with the Happy Mister. Hi. I'm on my journey to get every single relic weapon. I thought about doing that journey, and I started working on it and then subsequently stopped. I feel like I'm climbing a vertical rock wall that is Eureka because that's all I have left. Really, Eureka's not that bad in terms of getting all the relics, as long as you're not trying to customize the stats on them. That takes forever. Speaking of Eureka, what's your favorite Eureka zone and why? So Animos is the one I have the most cherished memories of, because it was right after my father passed and I came home from, burying him and handling all of the logistics that came with that. And that was the thing I came back to. So that zone always holds kind of a special place in my heart. In terms of the most fun and frequent, Pyros, actually ends up being, I think, what is the best zone of all of them. It's got a few things that are a little frustrating to navigate, so it keeps some of that kind of old school feeling. It's got the buns, which are both very accessible and popular. Getting around the map is, while it can be frustrating, is still far more streamlined than the previous zone. And I think the rewards that are sprinkled throughout Pyros are generally better than most other things. You know, Pagos has, I think, the most expensive stuff, but Pyros is good. But then you have, you know, Hydatos, which I really only like for Baldesion Arsenal, but Baldesion Arsenal is peak. So I think Onimos has to win at the end of the day, just because of that emotional connection I have to it and the timing it had in my life. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. This is a bit of a hot take, but what would your thoughts be on them just removing relics from future expansions? I don't even think that's a hot take. I don't think it's the right decision, but without even reading the rest, I mean, essentially after this expansion, like, why do you need 2 different weapons that you just get from tomes? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you then just make something else that is like that? I think the big thing is, though, is that it's a lot of weapon resources that would not be spent elsewhere, because even if they were to go back and do like the old ultimate weapons, for example, for the jobs that don't have them, that is not nearly the same amount of resource. And then where would you even put other weapons? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you fill any gaps. So I think it's better to make the quest more engaging for that, so it feels like these weapons existing makes more sense than it is to remove them and change the resource. I should probably read the rest of this. I personally feel that once they had a place in the game, now these people complain about them. Oh, the people have complained about them forever. Literally, there's the group of people who provide feedback about wanting something better, and there's the people that complain that it's not something they like, but that it should be changed to make them like it, which doesn't make sense to me. Like, I understand that if you don't like something, you should express why you don't like it, because that's an honest observation and opinion. But there's a lot of people who don't actually want something but still want it to be changed so that if they did want it, they could do it. I don't know. There's like this weird mentality about it. Wouldn't it be better off diverting resources elsewhere? Yeah, so savage weapons, old EX weapons, just as glamour, sometimes more. So I just fail to see the point. I'd rather they just add relic style weapons to things like Deep Dungeon Souls or Criterion. Yeah, no, see, then that's... I don't think that's a better option, because we already have deep dungeon weapons. Like, why would we? If anything, the deep dungeon weapons are probably some of the easier weapons to design. You would just take the 2 deep dungeon weapons and add a third one for the successful solo. Criterion, I think they should focus more on armor, and I don't think that taking the weapons away would do anything for that. I think you'd sooner change workflow or divert resources from something else before the relic. Relics are just, they're not just there for the glam. They're there as something for people to work towards throughout the expansion, whether they just want to do one or all of them. The problem was that it was just tomes this time, so it was really boring. So I think that's more important than finding a different way to spend those resources. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Happy. Hi. Long time watching, first time asking. I've seen a lot of the conversation about 24-man difficulty. I feel like there's a divide gap between the very casual players with those a little more hardcore and above players, how hard they want 24-mans. In my opinion, I feel like a lot of casual players think the 24-mans are harder pieces of content for them, which is why I think the devs keep them on the easier side. Even now, I still see a lot more casual players wiping into some mechanics that are considered easier by people who want harder raids. Do you think there's any type of 24-man content where they could easily and quickly make that is aimed at hardcore players instead? So I kind of answered this before, but the big thing is that even amongst casual groups, these latest 24-mans are crumbling. Like, if everyone just even stays alive, not even plays that well, but just stays alive, then you obliterate these 24-mans. Now, the big thing here, back when Void Ark came out, they actively apologized for the undertuned nature of the 24-mans. Weeping City came out. Some people complained, and they said, no, this is the intended difficulty for 24-mans. We're not changing it. And it became one of the most infamous and well-loved 24-mans throughout the entire game. Same would eventually be said of Dunscaith, the Evilly series. And people, I may not like Nier, but a lot of people do enjoy it. It's on the easier side mechanically, but the bosses take so long to kill that people with less focus still get a good challenge out of it. And I think that up until Endwalker, they had at least done a decent job of tuning the 24-mans, even if they weren't always difficult, which they shouldn't be, because like you've said, they need to be approachable by casual players. I think the big problem is that these bosses are tuned very poorly. They could have all the same mechanics, be slightly faster, and have a little more health, and that'd be all you'd need to do to kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, even though they're still not that bad, I look at Rhalgr, for example, from the first 24-man. I look at Naldthal. Those are acceptable levels other than the amount of health that they have, which I think is too low. So they're not even that far off base, but they are consistently just a bit off base, which makes it very, very noticeable. So I don't think we need to focus on the harder stuff. I think they need to get back to the exact difficulty they intended when they said, this is what we intend for our 24-mans. All right, and there's really just a few left. There's still some more stuff about like the jobs and whatnot. Someone asking where the 1227 comes from in my name. Birthday, very easy. I was born in the year 1227, obviously. I had another one asking where if we think the new melee is using scouting gear. 100%. There's no doubt about it. Anyone doubting it is on full copium. Why are there no Garlean Empire armor or weapons represented? Probably not till after they've gotten their own shit together, because they can't exactly make the stuff and give it to us very often. And other than like what we could pick up off the ground. And I don't think up until this point, I don't think the Alliance, the Eorzean Alliance would have been a big fan of us using their weaponry given what it's done to people. There's a lack of Garlean housing options. Yeah, again, I think a lot of that is because we need to let the Garleans fix their stuff, because they need to be able to open commerce for stuff like that to even fly lore-wise, because they can't even make their own houses. They're not going to make us houses, to then put on the market or anything like that. What's my favorite trial music track? One of my favorites has always been Suzaku, actually. But the Warring Triad is always a big favorite. Zeramis nailed it. I'm a huge fan of Endcaller as well from Zodiark. I don't know. I actually like a lot of them, but I think my all-time favorite is still Garuda for trial music, specifically for like, our trial series trial music. Is possible Yoshi P could have teased 2 jobs with his shirt? It's absolutely possible. I'd be dumb to say that it couldn't happen. It could be that it was teasing both Green Mage and Corsair with the hints that people have for both. Or, Pictomancer or whatever people are thinking. Yeah, no, it's totally possible. I'd be dumb to say it's not. But do we have anything to suggest that it is a double entendre shirt? No, it's just another theory that people could have that is within reason. Somebody's saying, is Living Liquid in T just as a meme since he was a terror? I think, yes, the answer is absolutely, because he's a notorious boss. They felt like they had to include him. But I think they did also need kind of like a gatekeeper for the start of Alexander. Like, they needed something to represent Gordius, because we do have to go from Gordius through to Midas through to the Creator. And that is what happens. You do the Living Liquid fight in Gordius, you do the BJCC phase in Midas, and then you do the final, you do the time stop and all that stuff in the Creator. And then finally a Perfect Alexander, which is its own separate thing. So I think they wanted to emulate that progression as well. So it works out. What's it called? I'm coping. So we had a not hello person that says that when they hit level cap, they're going to see horizontal progression. No, it's not going to happen. They're not just going to suddenly 180 their entire game design. That's not even copium. That's dummium. There's a difference between the two. I've been on dummium before as well. We've all been on dummium at some point. That's dummium. That's not even copium at that point. Let's see. Recently cleared top. That's pretty cool. Has there been a fight you've done in 14 you've initially hated but grew to love over time? I'm sure there is, but I can't think of it. Like, I even like Zeramis recently. I wasn't a huge fan when I cleared it the first time, but as I farmed it, I kind of started to like it a little bit more because it was very farm friendly. So I guess that kind of counts, I suppose. Then there was one cleared P12S and wondering if they will make more content like Island Sanctuary available outside your home world. They would need, if they do cloud servers, it's very possible. But if they do not decide that cloud servers are functionable enough for Final Fantasy XIV, then unlikely, because it's very difficult to adjust that. But if they do cloud servers, I think the answer to your question is yes. Then Walker, we got a teaser and then the full with 3 FanFest. Do you think it'll be a full trailer, Eddie? No, the full trailer won't be till Japan. What we should get is another like 20 to 30 seconds on this trailer. And then the final trailer, which will be like 5 minutes long, will be at Japan. Then we have another one. Completely delete one mechanic from the dev's memory. What would it be? Nisi. Always Nisi. Oh, man. Let's see. Do you think they'll do anything to spice gearing up? Other than Criterion actually having gear and loot? No. And I think they really need to do that, too. And then we have... should it... What's it called? The question about the item level... Oh, the Alliance Raid gear. It says here, but I got it. Should it be the same item level as Augmented Tome? I don't think it's any harm because it's like 4.5 to 5 months later. Do I think it? No, I think then people actually do stop doing Savage at that point. I think maybe 5 item levels under is a better option than the same because it just eliminates the value of the other gear as well. I don't think it matters. I think they could, and it really wouldn't change anything that much, but I don't think they will, and I don't think they should necessarily. As someone, what is your stance on melee positionals? Oh, they're so gone. I liked when Monk was a melee positional god. I loved it. I think they've done a good enough job showing Monk doesn't need it, and I think they're just gone next expansion. I have no doubt that's going to be something they announce. Now, I say I have no doubt. I could still be wrong. Like, duh. Obviously, I'm not a prophet. But I have no doubt. Square Enix wants to return to a summer release window. Do you think there'll be a case for 8.0? No. I think it's going to be 2.5 years. I think it'll go summer, winter, which I don't think they want, but I think is the reality. Do you think we'll see stat squishes every expansion? Every other. But they need to do a better squish next time. This was too little of a squish this time around. Then we had one here. Mentioned something I always try to bring up. What is the Warrior of Light's backstory? Let's see. Always trying to bring up the story behind everything. I've been thinking is, what's the Warrior of Light's backstory? They don't want to answer that. They leave that up to the player. They give you kind of the start of your adventure, but they pretty much give you, they pretty much give you full reign to decide what that was for you before, because it's your character. Continue with random questions. Would you rather have leg length fingers or finger length legs? Oh, leg length fingers. Then I can reach everything that's at the top shelves. That would be awesome. I would put the like reaching peripheral or whatever they're called, like anything that helps reach something, I put them out of business with that. It's true that Balmung on Crystal used to be a raiding hub. I mean, it had raiders. It still has extreme raid progression. It definitely has that. And then let's see. There's one here. 24-man stuff about that. Oh yeah, we actually just discussed this question from 18 hours ago about the 12 and the Watcher and how and if they exist on all the shards. We actually just talked about that on what's it called? State of the Realm. And we don't have any proof to say one way or the other. What we do know is that the other moons have Watchers, so it's worth assuming that the 12 don't just influence a single realm and that of the source. We have no proof, so I can't say definitively yes or no or anything like that. I think the Final Fantasy engine is the main issue of the game. The disgracious twin? Disgracious? Is that a word? Of the Luminous engine? It's not a twin of the Luminous engine, though. It's Crystal Tools. No, engine's not the main issue. Could we do better with another engine? Or with an updated engine? Absolutely. There are things they can't achieve because this engine was created almost in a dated sense. But it's far from the main issue. You can have a game engine that's old and still very functional and still work around it. It just might be more difficult. But you can also just have not good decisions made about the game, and that's more often where the problem would lie. And someone said they're disappointed about the last boss from the new Alliance raid. Maybe if you don't care about the lore. If you don't care about the lore, I could understand that sort of. But if you care about the lore, they went pretty hard on that boss. And I think that's it for questions that aren't about like Green Mage stuff anymore. But yeah, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have a question for next week, I'll do my best to get to it, like I said, in the hotel room on Sunday. Be sure to ask it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And I will see you in the next one, whenever that may be. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.